Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today. It is a good day today. So today we will talk about foster care and student success guide. We are on chapter 6. We are moving right along. Today, May 19th, 2022. We're doing the overview of chapter 6. Welcome to you all this morning. Happy to have you here. So we'll go ahead and get started. So just want to send you a reminder. Today, we're talking about the foster care and student success guide. I want to let you know where the guide is so you can follow along this presentation as we go. So please, if you have not already, please go to this webpage, tea.texas.gov/foster-care-guide, foster-care-guide, and go ahead and download the foster care guide right now if you don't already have it. You are able to print it out. We are not offering printing services on the guide right now, but you are free to download it as much as you like from our webpage. And you can also download it chapter by chapter if need be. So if you just want to look at chapter 6 today, you can do that. So just want to give you a little information about myself. My name is LaTrenda Watson. I'm the At-Risk State Coordinator in the Highly Mobile and At-Risk Student Programs Division here at Texas Education Agency. I am very thrilled to be in this position, and I support foster care and pregnancy-related services and any at-risk programs here at the agency. So if you have any questions or in need of any guidance, please feel free to reach out to me, either email me or send me any correspondence. And we also have a foster care liaison inbox that I'll show you later. You can email that for any guidance also. So I'm very thrilled and happy that you all came to join us today. So just want to make sure that the foster care guide is a combination of great collaboration efforts between Texas Education Agency, the Texas Department of Family Protective Services, and the Children's Commission. The updated guide was in production for the past 2 years, and the last guide was produced in 2013. So we have an updated guide now. So we are so happy and thrilled that everyone is here for the training and has the updated information. So this guide could not have been done without a partnership. So we've done a great job to build a guide to provide excellent information and support services for students in foster care in the state of Texas. So what is our objective today? We want to provide educators and all of those who work with students in foster care a brief overview of the foster care and student success guide. We want to familiarize educators and any persons who are working with students in foster care with the foster care guide and the relevant laws and policies that affect the educational experience of students in foster care. And finally, we want to provide access to the foster care guide for purposes of ensuring students in foster care are provided the proper assistance. So we want to make sure that everyone understands the foster care guide and how you can use it to effectively and properly assist students in foster care. So what is our agenda for today? We want to make sure we're going to do a foster care guide overview at the beginning. We're just going to talk about the beginning information at the front of the foster care guide. Then we're going to head straight into chapter 6. Then we're going to pause for understanding. And then we're going to continue finishing chapter 6. If we have any time for questions, we'll have those. And then we'll talk about future foster care training in this series. So in the chat, I want to know who is here with us today. So if you would please indicate your job title, And I thank you so much already for sending in your shout outs. You're shouting out where you're from. It's great to see everyone and how you're doing all over the state of Texas. You're at ISDs. I'm so thrilled that everyone is able to join us today. So please send in the chat and chat out where you are and what is your job title, because that'll help me also to frame some of the references within this guide and this training. So thank you all. See, we have some specialists, directors, good job. Director of Student Services. We have foster care liaisons. Welcome to you all. We have parent liaisons. We have district homeless and foster care liaisons. Family engagement worker. Yes, we do need our family engaged, and they need to know supports that are offered to our students in foster care. PEAMS coordinators, you are very important, and we will be talking about you all today within this chapter 6. Yes. So next thing I want you to put in the chat, please put in the chat, what has been your concerns with working with students in foster care? What are your current concerns working with students in foster care? So thank you for those shout outs and telling us where you are. Verifying foster care status when forms are turned in several years old. Yes, we're going to talk about forms today within chapter 6. Coordination with the caseworker. We've discussed that today in chapter 6 also. Good job. Everyone is here. Correctly identifying and withdrawal process. Yes, withdrawal process is in today's presentation in chapter 6. Good job. Please continue to fill in the chat. What are your concerns with working with students in foster care? What are some concerns and some things you have been seeing while working with students in foster care? And when you're filling out this information, we use this information to help us with future trainings. So when we ask you questions and we're trying to engage you all and see what concerns or have you been having, we use these concerns to either do another frequently asked questions, or we're using this to frame our trainings. But we would love to hear more information from you to understand how we can further assist you. So thank you all for filling in the chat right now. This is very good information, very good information. Lack of paperwork when enrolling. We will be talking about that today too in chapter 6. Yes, educational portfolios is discussed in chapter 6 also. So thank you all for filling in the chat and having a discussion. This is very helpful information. So now let's continue on. So we want to just remind you, just a reminder, LEA foster care liaisons, district foster care liaisons, please confirm that your liaison is in AXTED correctly. So if you are not in AXTED and you are the foster care liaison, contact your district's AXTED coordinator to request any changes or updates to the AXTED directory. More information is available on TEA's Foster Care and Student Success website regarding the foster care liaison. We want to ensure that we have the correct person, because it is a law. Everyone has to know who is the district's foster care liaison. So please ensure that you have that information within AXTED. And remember, at each one of our ESCs, we have a foster care champion, and they are also posted in AXTED. We also post a list of those foster care champions on our foster care website, on the TEA website. We have a list of our foster care champions there. We will be updating it this summer because we know we do have changes that occur, but we want to ensure that any information is there in AXTED. So now how can you sign up for updates? We want you to be updated on any information that we send out. On our TEA website, at the top, it says sign up for updates. We would love for you to sign up for our at-risk and highly mobile student programs division. So within that division, foster care and student success is within that division. in that division. So also McKinney-Vento homeless education, mental and behavioral health, and military connected students. All of those you can receive updates from any one of those. So when we send out newsletters or we send out correspondence, you will automatically get those if you're signed up. So please sign up for any updates. So just want to start talking about the foster care guide. I want to get you familiarized with the icons within the guide. So the icons are located throughout the guide to assist you with information that is needed. The table of contents and the chapters are grouped by color, and this is to help you all to make this more user-friendly. So about the preference, the appendices and references, all those chapters will be in orange. So anytime you see an orange chapter, you know that's what's inside of it. Anytime you see a green chapter, the chapter is labeled green. It is an overview chapter. It will provide you overview information about that subject. Next, our cross systems and collaborations. That was our purple section. So anytime we talk about collaboration and working with cross systems to support a student, that will be purple. And then the last one is district and local education agencies, LEA responsibilities. So any districts and LEA responsibilities, those will be in blue. Next, let's talk about the icons that are used in chapter 6. There are a lot of icons that are being used in chapter 6. So make sure you are looking at those icons, follow those tips, follow those reminders, any collaboration strategies, any notes, specifically when it addresses the law, that will be highlighted. So make sure you are looking at any resources. The blue bell is any new items that are new to this guide. It is placed with that blue bell, and then any best practices. So when we talk to you throughout the state and you told us some best practices that you use, some of those practices are within the guide now, and they're highlighted with that icon. So hopefully you're looking at your icon and follow along. At the bottom of the page, it will tell you what page we are on and where you can find that information. So this is the icons with the guide is located on page 4 inside the guide. So also the table of contents, I just want to highlight this for you in the table of contents. The table of contents, the chapters and subsections are hyperlinked. So when you are able to go directly to that area, that chapter, if you download the guide as a whole, you can go to the table of contents and click on chapter 1 and it'll take you directly there. Or if you want to click on maintain school stability, you can click on that and it'll take you directly to that area in that chapter. So just want to show you about the table of contents, and that's located on pages 5 through 8. So now, where can I get more information about foster care from TEA? So just want to tell you about information. TEA's Foster Care and Student Success webpage, we have that. We're updating it, so you will see more information and clear, more user-friendly information on our webpage soon, so we will be updating that. We also want you to subscribe to our TEA Foster Care and Student Success newsletter, how I showed you earlier, how to sign up for updates. And then you can also email us. Email us as fostercareliaison@tea.texas.gov. If you have any concerns, if you have any questions, please feel free to email us, reach out to us. All of these are great ways to get more information about foster care from TEA. And this is on actually page 10 of your guide. So I just want to make sure you know you have all this information at your fingertips inside the guide. Next, let's head into the material that we're here to discuss today. Let's head into chapter 6. So hopefully everyone is with me. Follow along in chapter 6. We're on page 62 of the guide. We're going to talk about school enrollment, withdrawal, and other transition considerations for students in foster care. So that's what this whole chapter is about. So within this chapter, we're going to discuss why prompt enrollment is important. Prompt enrollment is very important. We're going to talk about the time frame for enrollment in a new school, records needed to admit, and enroll a student in a school. So what records do you need? Then we'll discuss information necessary for admissions and enrollment described. Then we'll speak about the actions to take when a student in foster care withdraws or changes schools. Then we'll discuss DPS coordination to support school transitions, more specific DPS information. Then other school transition considerations. So other things that is with transition for students. We'll talk about McKinney-Vento homeless education services and child welfare. We'll discuss eligibility for school meal programs. Children in foster care are eligible for free pre-kindergarten programs in public schools here in Texas, and then also daily attendance. So we'll go through all of these topics within chapter 6. And now we're on page 62. Just want to keep you and follow along. So if you're making notes, this is a great way to make notes and keep up. So let's go straight into the information. Now I'm on page 63 of the guide. Prompt enrollment. You know, as soon as a student comes to your campus, you want to promptly enroll the student. Please enroll the student. And the challenges to that enrollment are partially and missing student records. Some challenges, if you do not have all those student records, does that hinder enrollment? No, it does not. They do have a process and time for providing that information to the school. So partial and missing student records should not be a challenge to enrollment. Lack of knowledge of the enrollment process. So some guardians do not fully understand the enrollment process at the school. So that may hinder and that may challenge some of that. Sometimes they will not come directly to the school because they're not sure of the enrollment process. So we want to make sure that everyone knows how to enroll a student and what to do when they come to your campuses. Also, lack of clarity about who may enroll the student in foster care. So sometimes our custodial parents do not fully understand. They just received the student. If it's an aunt who not fully aware of how to enroll a student, sometimes that will bring challenges to enrollment. Then unclear directions about who is responsible for transfer of records. So we want to clear that up today about transferring those records. We do not want that to be a hindrance for enrolling students. And then also misinformation about foster care. We want to make sure that everyone knows about how to enroll students in foster care and what to do. So please make sure you are looking and understanding what to do and how to help for prompt enrollment. And this information is on page 63. So the time frame for enrollment, enrollment, immediately enroll students in foster care. So do not delay. Remember, Texas law requires DPS to enroll a student in foster care within 3 days of the student being placed or moved to a new placement. So DPS will be coming to the school to make sure when they receive conservatorship, they are coming to the school to enroll the student. So either new placement and conservatorship or new school or new foster care placement, the student should be in school within 3 days of that. Also, DPS has 30 days to ensure necessary enrollment paperwork is provided to the school. So if they're coming to enroll a student and they provide you with that 2085 form, you are to enroll the student immediately. And information for this is on page 63 and 64 of the guide. Now, the enrollment strategy. So we want to provide you some strategies that have helped others within the state that could help you. So the receiving school. So if you are receiving a new student who happens to be in foster care, you should immediately contact the sending school when a new student in foster care is enrolled. So school staff, this is some strategies that you can use. Have the school records from the previous school. This would help a lot if there is students who are coming from a new school coming to the receiving school. Place in the correct grade level and classes. Also receive books and materials as needed. Ensure the coding in PEIMS is using foster care indicator. Make sure once you have that 2085 form, you are coding the student in the PEIMS, because we want to make sure we are correctly identifying those students. Also, special education and 504 services if appropriate. So if the student is coming to you from the receiving school and it had indicated that they were in special education or 504, ensure those services are continued. Next, receive free school meals without completing a meal application, because you know once you have that information that states the student is in conservatorship, that automatically qualifies them for free school meals. And we'll talk about that more here in chapter 6. Next, provide information on school activities. Let them know what after school activities, what clubs are being held at the school that they will be interested in. And next, the enrollment conference within the first 2 weeks of enrollment. Ensure that you are having those enrollment conferences. Please make sure you are holding those enrollment conferences. And next, provide school introductions. Let the student know, and also the caregiver, let them know who is coming and how the school runs, who the person to contact, and any persons that they can speak to that will be helpful for them. And all of this information is on page 64. So let's quickly talk about transition assistance. So, you know, we recently gave a webinar series about the transition assistance rule in the fall. I just want to do a highlight of it right now. This information is actually on page 64. It goes into more detail. So please make sure you're looking at the information about the transition assistance in the enrollment conference. Like I stated, it has to happen within the first 2 weeks of enrollment. And make sure that this is happening. So when the student is coming to enroll, you have 2 weeks, and make sure you have that enrollment conference. And within the rule, it specifies what they would like to see happen within that enrollment conference. We also provided you with a toolkit to let you know what happens within that enrollment conference, some suggestions of key people to be in that enrollment conference. All of this information is on our website, and I will show you this. I will tell you about how to get this information for the enrollment conference, because I'm not telling you everything that we haven't specifically given to you anyway. And I'm seeing some questions in the chat, so I will get to those in a minute. But we want to ensure that the welcome packet that you have an enrollment conference, and then your welcome packet. Remember, the welcome packet is what you already have. When you have an enrollment packet, all you need to do is include some items for the welcome packet, and that specifically speaks to the items that is within the rule that they ask for you to have. Next, your school introductions. Make sure you have somewhere to where the student who is enrolling is introduced to the school, introduced to the campus, how it is set up, important people to speak to, especially administrators, counselors, anyone that could help them within the school. And then also nutrition benefits. Make sure upon enrollment that the student will automatically have nutrition benefits. It is good if you contact and have good communication with the nutrition coordinator on the campus to ensure that that student will receive information directly as soon as it happens. As soon as they enroll, they should have nutrition benefits. So I'm trying to go through right quickly. Enrollment conference information is on our website. It is actually a rule that it's in the guide on page 64 that tells you how to get to that rule. And it's actually the transition assistance rule. So in information, we will discuss that too. And it's also on our foster care website, and it gives you specific information. We actually have a toolkit for our transition assistants that let you know about each one of these 4 portions that are on the page on the site right now. So the 2085 form, there is also the 2085 form. What does it look like? It is in the appendices of this guide. So you can go to the appendices and actually see what the actual 2085 form looks like. So remember, it should have something by it to say, oh, let's go to the appendices and what it looks like and what is included in there. So thank you for assisting with some of these questions in the chat. So what if a relative kinship? The kinship, they do have a 2085 kinship care form. So the student is not in conservatorship if they do not have that 2085 form, and they do have a kinship care form for it. It's 2085 KO for kinship. So they should have that 2085 form that is given to them by DFPS. So let's continue on. So now I'm on page 65, records needed to admit and enroll students. So what do you need to admit and enroll students for? So for admission, you need either the legal guardian, and the legal guardian need proof of residence. So remember, that student, that caregiver, that the foster care custodian who has the student, they're the legal guardian at that point once they get conservatorship for admission. So if a student is in DFPS conservatorship, DFPS has the legal authority to enroll a student in school, or they can be delegated to another person. So that's that conservatorship or the custodian or guardian. So if the person does not have the required documents, the DFPS caseworker or the DFPS educational specialist may assist with obtaining that 2085. So make sure they must have that in order to be classified as foster care. So now let's look at the enrollment. For enrollment, the proof of the student's identity. They need to prove identity of the student. Make sure you have who that student is, and it should be on that 2085 form. Their date of birth is on that 2085 form, and their name is on there also. So you can look at that information. Immunization records. Approval for students for legal guardians is not required before transfer of immunization records, because the immunization records are part of the education records. So if you are requesting records from the previous school, you can also get the immunization records at the same time, because they are educational records and you do not need guardian approval to obtain those. All the information that I'm stating right now is in the foster care guide. Okay, school records from the last school attending. The receiving school could use, you can make sure you use information from the previous school to know where any records from the previous school to the receiving school. So this will help out a lot. So you should make sure that you have that. And here we go. Let's talk about DFPS placement authorization forms. This is the form that you need in order to show that the student is in conservatorship of the state. So the 2085 is the placement authorization form, and then the 2085E is the educational decision-making form. So you need to know who can make education decisions for this student. You need both of those forms. It would be great if you receive both of those forms, but if you receive one or the other, that is also enough for enrollment for that student to get identified as a foster care student. So make sure you are having those forms and you know where to get those forms from. That's why we're talking about this now. And it has, and within this on page 65, it has the law icon, and it also has the note icon. So make sure you are looking at that also, because that will provide you with helpful information. Next, admission and enrollment. So number one, admission. Who may enroll a student? acceptable forms to show legal authority. So who has that legal authority and how do you know? Because you will have that 2085 form or that 2085E or court order naming DFPS temporary managing person, or make sure TMC or PMC. Make sure you have that. If you do not have that, that you do not understand that that student is in conservatorship. Those are the legal authority. This is the legal authority to show that those students have been placed or in conservatorship. And that is the only way that you can code a student as being foster care in PEMS. So let's look at the law. The law states if a parent or other person with legal responsibility for a student under a court order enrolls the student in a public school, that individual or the transferring district shall furnish the receiving school or the receiving district. They can furnish them the birth certificate, the records from the previous school attendant, and the immunization records. So all of this information can go to the next school. So it is the legal responsibility for those enrolling the student to make sure that they have that information to get that to the school. This information is on page 65 and 66. And for those who want to see what the 2085 look like, it is in the appendix of the guide. So please go to your appendices in the guide. So on the next, let's talk about enrollment. So proof of enrollment. Proof of residence. So first we want to talk about proof of residence. Students in foster care are allowed to attend public schools in the district in which the foster care currently resides for free. So if a student is placed with a foster parent, they are allowed to go to the school within that district with that address where the foster parents are residing. And the law states that the students have the right to remain at the school before entering conservatorship. So they also have the right for school of origin. So, but we wanted just to indicate this information as well for proof of residence, and also where the foster care parent is currently residing, the student can go to the school within that district where the foster care parent resides for free, because that's what the law states. Let's go to proof of student's identity. So the identity of the student and how you can confirm that, either the birth certificate or other proof. So the 2085 with the birth certificate, with the birthday on the 2085, or you could use other information that may help you identify that student. Next, the immunization records. So students in foster care may be admitted provisionally for 30 days, even if acceptable evidence of vaccination is not available. So remember, you have information on that, and you can make sure that students are provisionally enrolled. So there's no reason you should stop enrollment just because you do not have immunization records. Those students should still be enrolled. They have up to 30 days to provide that information to the school. And if they do not provide that information, it is the school's responsibility to provide information to that foster parent to let them know where they can go and receive immunizations. So make sure you have this understanding of this material. And next, school records from the last school attended. So the receiving district should try to secure all records and required documentation from the previous school. So you want to ensure that you receive those records from the previous school. And then after requested, records should be transferred within 10 working days via TRex. So you have 10 working days once it is formally requested. Once it is formally requested from TRex, the records must be transferred to the requesting school. So this is information we want you to know and want you to understand. The law is there. We want to utilize the law. Things are in place for a reason. So please make sure you understand that you can do a written request And they have to transfer those records to you within 10 working days. And the information that I'm talking about now is in the foster care guide on page 66 through 68. So now let's talk about actions to take. Let's talk about actions to take when the student in foster care withdraws or changes schools. What actions can we take? So who is responsible for withdrawing students from the school? So the responsible parties are either the caregiver, DFPS, or community-based caseworker. So when the student is changing legal guardianship, and if DFPS is taking conservatorship of that student, they can be responsible for withdrawing that student. So the law states, because of FERPA laws, caregivers or foster parents did not formally withdraw the student. Just because they didn't withdraw the student, the original school district can release the student records. So remember, you still can release those student records even though they do not have, the legal guardian did not formally withdraw them. So this is on page 69 where this information is located. So how can a school personnel promote effective record transfer? So remember, your local child welfare, DFPS, and educational agencies, your district, are encouraged to collaborate together to establish practices to improve overall communication. We want to make sure we have overall communication and records transfer. So this is a very good way to make sure you have understanding of how you can work together to make sure those records are transferred successfully. So this is where your foster care liaisons and to follow up with the previous school and the current school to ensure withdrawal and enrollment process is eased. That's why we have that transition assistance to ease these transitions. So building those communication and being collaborative is the best way to go. So importance of withdrawal and the 10-day record transfer. So this is very important. Remember, notification of withdrawal and formal exit provides the sending school with the opportunity to prepare those records and send to the new school via TRex. So TRex, the Texas Student Records Exchange. We want to ensure that if you request the records, the sending school has enough time to get all the records together and send that information to the new school. So please, if you have not been utilizing TRex, please make sure you are utilizing TRex in the correct manner so you can get those school records for that student so they can have proper placement and continuation of educational services. So, and it's also written within the law that once a written request for records is made by the caregiver or DFPS representative or a person with legal authority for the student, the district must transfer the records to the new district or to the receiving school within 10 working days. So we want to make sure everyone understands that information. And remember, 10 working days, this is law. So it's not give me more time or do anything. They have 10 working days. And within the guide, it tells you if you are not receiving it, you do have a phone number that you can call and you do have an email address that you can send to. So that information is also on page 70. So Texas Student Records Exchange, TRex. So let's talk about TRex right quick. And this information is on page 70 if you're following along with me. So on page 70, TRex is the system that facilitates record exchange of all student records across Texas. Now remember, we're talking about Texas. So if you have a student transferring from one school in Texas to another school, you can use TRex to facilitate that record exchange. Next, when a student moves from one Texas public district to a charter school to another, the student's record must be transferred via TRex within 10 working days of the receiving school or by a written request. Make sure you are using the TRex system. That is a correct way to use that information. Next, special education records are often stored separately from enrollment records, and many public school districts or charter schools require requesters to request records from multiple entities within the same public school district or charter school. So those special education records are sometimes kept differently from the educational records. So we want to make sure you get all of that information. So please make sure you are following the guidelines for using TRex and request the appropriate information. And this is on page 70 of the guide. So now let's talk about DPS coordination to support school transitions. So what is DPS role in this situation? So what we provided with you here is DPS Educational Resource Guide. It is designated, it provides you with the actual guidance and the policies concerning education of students in foster care. So this is DPS Educational Resource Guide. So if you want to learn more about the understanding of how DPS works with our students in foster care, this is their guide. And also the DPS Educational Policy Handbook, it provides DPS educational policies of how they proceed. So if you want to learn more information about that, we provided you both the links. The links are also in the foster care guide. I'll just put them here in this presentation for you also. So how does DPS assist with students in foster care? So now you have your DPS educational specialist. So I hope you got to know or getting to know your DPS educational specialist, especially working with your ESC foster care champions. They work hand in hand in providing trainings and consortiums for you to get together, ask questions, use best strategies together. So those DPS educational specialists are designated advocates with each DPS region. So DPS regions and ESC regions are not the same, but they do have educational specialists for certain areas. So, and that information is actually on our TEA foster care webpage, where you can actually locate your DPS educational specialist. So they are there to assist and advocate for the students. So if you have any concerns or any problems with getting a 2085, contact that DPS educational specialist. They will assist you in that matter. Next, child welfare partners may provide academic information from the previous school. So they can help with facilitating the enrollment process by providing information from the form from the previous school. So they can facilitate that also along with the foster care liaison. And next, DPS has the educational portfolio. So that portfolio is supposed to have all the information, the birth certificate, educational records, any information there. So DPS educational specialists can assist you with obtaining the educational portfolio. So just have a discussion with your educational specialist. And then familiarity with DPS enrollment and withdrawal process. So by law, DPS ensures that the student is enrolled no later than 3 days after the court order. So after DPS has been granted conservatorship of the student, they have 3 days to ensure the enrollment of a student. So we want to ensure that you know these things, because the more you know, the more you can assist those students who are coming to you. So this information is on page 70 and 71. So now, why do students sometimes have missing records? So why do those students have missing records? So when a student enters foster care, the change can be very abrupt and immediately. There is no time to go back and forth, which may allow the caregivers the opportunity to formally withdraw the student. So sometimes they do not have access to formally withdraw the student at that time because they had to make a change so abruptly. So that sometimes that may lead to why students don't have all of their records. So that's why I discussed previously about ways that you can obtain those school records. Another way why student records are missing is the previous district may not be informed of the student's departure, or the receiving LEA or the receiving district may not know where the student was previously enrolled. Because things happen so fast, sometimes within that system, nobody was notified that the student was withdrawal, or nobody knows where the student was previously enrolled. So that may be a reason why some records are missing. And then when a student enters foster care, the school staff may be unsure about who is legally allowed to have the student's records, as well as who has legal authority to make education related decisions. So remember, previously I talked to you about the 2085 and the 2085E. The 2085 grants the person legally over those school records. So that is the person you can legally talk to about the student. If you have the 25E, the person's name on there is the educational decision maker. So that is the person making decisions on behalf of the student. So that's why we always say, make sure you have the 2085 and the 2085E, because that provides you directions on how to work with our students in foster care and the personnel to talk to. And all of this information is on page 72 in the guide. So now let's take a pause for a moment. So I've been talking for a while, and you do have questions in the chat. So I may be able to answer some of your questions in the chat, but if I do not answer those, please make sure you email fostercareliaison@tea.texas.gov to make sure you get your question answered, because I may not have time to do it during this webinar, but I will have time to answer emails individually and get that information to you. So I want to make sure you have that. So now in the chat, can you please indicate any new information you have heard so far? Because I'm based upon some of the questions, I think 2085 is something new that you have heard so far. But go ahead and place in the chat anything, any new items that you have heard so far. Yes, that educational portfolio is there. Sometimes if we don't ask for it, we may not receive it, or if DFPS have not gotten their hands on it yet from the previous district or the previous school, they may not have it either. So that's why it's good to ask for those information, because some of this information is actually law. You have to receive certain things at a certain time. So it's good that we have the guide, that you have the guide. You can always turn back in the guide and find the law and understand what is supposed to be happening. So 2085 is the placement form. It's stating that they legally been placed. And then the 2085E is the educational decision-making form. That means that person has the educational opportunities to make the decisions for that student. Now, is it the same person? Sometimes it may or it may not be. That's why it has two separate forms. So keep putting in the chat anything you have learned new so far in chapter 6 that has been new to you. So the 2085 is key for us to ensure that we are placing our students and giving them the correct PEAMS indicator as foster care. You must have that form. I am so glad that you all are here today and we're talking about things so you can get that understanding so we can better assist our students in foster care. Welcome, new hire. It's good to learn. That's why we are holding these webinars, so everyone can learn something new. So welcome. And remember, all of these webinars, the presentation and the slides are on our foster care website, on TEA's website. So if you want to go back and watch the overview, and then we review chapters 1 through 3, we review chapters 4 through 5, and today is chapter 6. all of the recordings and the slide decks will be on our website. So you can always go back and watch them and obtain the slide decks. So we just want to make sure you have that information, and we want to make sure that all of this is for you. For any contact information, please make sure you reach out to foster care liaison at tea.texas.gov if you have specific questions. So just want to put that in there for you. So I see we've reached a point. Okay, so let's continue on with the presentation. So now here we go. I saw in the chat we had some McKinney-Vento questions. So for McKinney-Vento homeless education, we wanted to, it is talked about in the guide. The guide will be updated. There has been some new guidance for McKinney-Vento and McKinney-Vento homeless education and foster care, dealing with coding and other matters. So we will be updating the guide. And remember, since it is digital, you will get that update as soon as we change it on our website. So I'm so glad that we have that digital. You can always download it. So when we do the update, we will notify you that the update is there. So there will be more information for you about McKinney-Vento and foster care. We're going to update some of this section for you because new guidance has come out. So, but for now, these are great resources for you to look at regarding McKinney-Vento and foster care. We want you to take a look at it. And also the main one is a look at a child's welfare from an education perspective brief. So that lets you know things that you can look for, ideas that you can do within your districts to when you building your procedures. So this information is on page 74. So now let's talk about eligibility for school meal programs. So students in foster care, they're eligible for USDA child nutrition programs. The caregivers for students in foster care, they do not have to complete a separate application. They do not have to complete a separate lunch application. Once they provide you with that 2085, you know that they are in conservatorship and they are automatically eligible for USDA child nutrition program, so free lunch. The DPS Placement Authorization Form 2085 provides for immediate authorization of the student to participate in these programs offered. So any federal lunch programs, students in foster care are eligible for those programs. So let's go into the points. So students in DPS managing conservatorship are eligible for nutritional benefits. That's it. They're eligible regardless. So students from another student's child welfare system by a court where the state retains legal custody of the child is eligible for lunch benefits also. So we're going through how are they eligible right now. Students who are in interstate compact on the placement of children, ICPC agreement, and in foster care in another state and are currently being monitored by Texas, they're still eligible. So you still have that eligibility. These are different ways that students are eligible for the school meal programs. Also, students who are unaccompanied refuge minors, URM, and are placed by federal government in non-DPS foster care placements, they are eligible also. So please make sure you are looking at this information. And next, students who were adopted out of foster care or who are no longer in foster care are not eligible for this benefit unless the student's family meets the category eligibility guidelines in another way. So once the student is out of foster care, they are no longer eligible for the school meal program. They must be in conservatorship in order to maintain the lunch program eligibility. So a good tip that was in this section says foster care liaisons have the necessary document to directly certify foster care for those nutritional benefits. So please work with your nutrition coordinators and foster care liaisons. You must work together to ensure that those students in foster care are receiving school meals on the first day that they are enrolled. So whatever procedures that the foster care liaison has worked out with the nutrition coordinator, please make sure you work out that. When I was a district foster care liaison, I certified the students, and then I sent a list to our nutrition department, and then they made sure that those students were eligible for free lunch. So if you have a system in place, it makes it easier for those transition. And when these students do come on your campuses, it makes it a lot better. So also in this section, they have resources for nutrition assistance. So all of this information is on page 74 in the guide. So let's talk about children in foster care are eligible for pre-kindergarten programs in public schools. Say that fast. All children who are 3, 4, 5 years of age who are currently in or were ever in Texas foster care as a result of an adversary hearing receive a letter of verification to enroll in a public schools pre-kindergarten program from DPS. So if you have a student who's in foster care now, or whoever was ever in foster care, let's say they were in 3 years old and they were in foster care, and then they're getting ready to enroll for pre-kindergarten, you can obtain a letter of verification to make sure you enroll those students. They are eligible for free pre-K. On the screen, we have where you can get those letters of verification. Those letters are pre-K verification letters at dfps.texas.gov. So children who turn 5 after September 1st of the school year are not eligible for kindergarten enrollment, but are still eligible for pre-kindergarten enrollment. So remember those age requirements for those students. This information is on page 75 through 76. Next, we want to talk about daily attendance. Remember, school is mandatory. School attendance is mandatory for students in foster care, as well as all students from 6 to 18 years of age. It is mandatory for students to come to school. So we want to make sure that those we want to make sure that those students are coming to school, and we want our foster care liaisons. You can check on those students. Remember, you know who your foster care students are. So if you have students who have a lot of absences or make sure you are checking on those students. So absences related to court order activities, such as medical appointments or mental health or therapy or family visitations, even college visits, because they have 2 per year during their junior and senior years, are excusable according to Texas law. So make sure you are viewing those court-ordered activities and make sure you are excusing those absences. And then if a school determines that the student's absences are a result of foster care, the district may offer additional counseling to the student, but they're using your truancy benefits, or if you have truancy counselors, make sure you have that information for that. So we want to inform you of this, because we don't want to say, oh, just because of what's happening, their daily attendance, we want the students to come to school. We want them to make sure that those students are able to go to school, are not having so many absences. We want to ensure the educational ability of those students. And this information is on page 76 and 77. So some tips are the foster care liaison work with the caregivers if the student is absent. Communication is key. Make sure you're communicating with those caregivers so that the caregivers can understand the school policies. So we don't want the first time you're talking to the caregiver to be that you're giving them warnings about missing too many days of school. Make sure you're communicating before then. So that would be the best thing to do. So now I want to go back. If you want to, because that is the end of the section, but I want to go back to, let's looking at pre-K. I wanted to identify and make sure that you saw in there that the new law, the new section, the new part in that section was the 87 Texas legislation, House Bill 725, states that students who were in or currently in another state's foster care system and they're currently residing in Texas, they are eligible for free pre-K. So just want to make you aware of that. And it's on page 76. And this is the reason why we have added that additional PEIMS coding number 3. And that coding is specifically for pre-K students who were previously in foster care or who currently in foster care and in the state of Texas. So we are tracking those students in PEIMS for that. So make sure you have that information and follow along with that information. So any information, I hope that you found some information today that you are going to share with others. I really do. I hope you have some information. You can place that in the chat. And I see a foster care champion in the ESCs. So and I see that you want more training as well. You have every ESC region has a foster care champion. They conduct trainings. They hold meetings. Please reach out to them. Those foster care champions, I have meetings with them. I have 4 meetings with them a year, and we talk about a lot of things, and then they bring those things back to you. So please reach out to your foster care champions. If you do not know who they are, it is on our website. Their name is on our website. We have that information listed for you. And you can always reach out to them if you have questions or concerns. And also, if you have questions or concerns, you can reach out to us here at TEA also, foster care liaison at tea.texas.gov. So please make sure you have that information also. The link for this webinar and the presentation will be on our website. It will probably be uploaded next week. So it will be on the website for you, as are all the past webinars. So all the webinars will be on our website waiting for you if you want to go back and watch them. Also, if you want to share this information with others to let them go see the trainings and let them see anything, it is on our website. We want to make sure we have all that information readily available for you. Is there any information that you are going to take back and share today? So just want to leave an opportunity for that. Hopefully these webinars have been very helpful for you, especially to our new people who are coming into our foster care liaison. We want to provide you with, make sure you have adequate trainings and webinars for you to go back and look. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. So for chapter 7 through 13, we will begin that training series in the next school year. So today will be the last training for this school year, because school will be out for you some in the next couple of weeks. So for chapter 7 through 13, we will continue this webinar series. We've been getting good feedback from it, and that has been helpful for you. So we want to continue that. And information about the webinars will be sent either on our foster care newsletter. That's why we encourage you to sign up. And also our foster care webpage, we will have where you can register for any of the trainings on the foster care webpage. So please look forward to those trainings, and those dates will be forthcoming. We will also host some other trainings with DPS and the Children's Commission. We will be hosting trainings together. So you will be getting more detailed information about these chapters and things that we talked about within these webinars. We will look more into detail and bring those parties who are responsible for those areas, and we will be presenting a webinar training for you also. So my intent and my goal is to make sure that you have everything you need to be successful so you can assist our students in foster care. So if you have any questions or if any comments or any suggestions, please make sure you send them to fostercareliaison@tea.texas.com. .gov, so we can make sure we have, we know your concerns and we can address your concerns. So we want to make sure, here's the email address, just want to make sure you have it. Send your questions and concerns or any information. And if you have any ideas for trainings, or we are coming up with more train the trainer ideas for you that will be available, so you can get trained and then go back to your district and train your whole district about foster care. So we want to make sure we have adequate information for you out there. So please email us here if you have any further questions or any information. So remember, recordings and PowerPoint and presentation slides will be on our website. Everything is on our website. So if you would please fill out our survey. Our survey goes along to help us help you. So if any suggestions you have, or please fill that out. This will be our last webinar for this school year. We will be coming back with more so we can go into detail about chapters 7 through 13. We want to provide that overview about the information that is within those chapters. So thank you all for coming today. Please fill out our survey. Some trainings will be held over the summer, more into August. We'll probably start them in August. So look forward to those trainings and those dates. They will be on our website, and we will send out the newsletter. So thank you all for attending today. If you did not get your question answered today, please email fostercareliaison@tea.texas.gov. We will make sure we get an answer to you. So please reach out to us. Our webinar is only so long, so sometimes we can't answer all of the questions during the webinar, but if you email us, we will surely get an answer to you. So thank you all for attending today. We appreciate you coming, and have a safe and great summer.